Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be giving my presentation over the case Mountain Strong, presented by Turner Public Relations and Visit SD Parks. This right here is SD Parks, Colorado. It's a ski resort town that recently, last year, went under a huge flood, which we will talk about, the 1,000-year flood. As you can see right here, this is downtown SD Parks, and then after the flood came, it was completely underwater. Cars couldn't get through, nobody could get to the local businesses or even get to the town. The highways to the town were shut down. This over here is an aerial view of SD Parks. You have Highway 34 and Highway 36, and then when the floods came, the highways were completely discombobulated. Cars could not get down them, nobody could get to the resort. So, SD Parks and Turner PR decided that they need to figure something out, that they needed to figure out a way to make sure that this wasn't going to have a huge impact on SD Parks' environment and with their travel and with people coming to stay and visit. So they started a brainstorming campaign, and the primary campaign goal was to clearly and widely communicate SD Parks was open and accessible to support the return visitation to the area. Alright, they first started out their PR campaign by doing research. They reviewed and updated a crisis plan. They already had a crisis plan in set, but their crisis plan wasn't fully functional for a flood, so they decided to review it and update it. Then they decided to update their media package. What media was reporting on the flood, what were they reporting, and who did they need to contact to get the right word out. Then they did research on the travel conditions. What happened to SD Parks after the flood that was going to affect travelers coming in and leaving SD Parks. Then they needed to go around town, see what was going on around town with the conditions of the town, what was going on with the local businesses, were they able to function, were they going to need renovations. They did research around town of what was going on with the local businesses and with the local community. Then they did research on the media and what the media has been telling everyone across the United States and just in Colorado. They needed to know this so that they could counteract what the media was saying. So then they established their primary goal, which was to communicate to potential visitors, both nationally and regionally, that SD Park was open and accessible, and they wanted to mitigate the loss of visitation and associated tourism revenue. So they established some objectives, and their first objectives focused on media relations. They wanted to talk to the media so that they can reverse what the media was just saying, which was, this is just such a tragic event, there's just so much water, the town is shut down, nobody's here, it's a ghost town, which was the exact opposite. The town was still functioning even though they were underwater. They were working on their recovery. So they wanted to reverse the message to a recovery focus so that people could see how they were recovering from this flood. And then they also wanted to establish open for business, that after the recovery, that they were open and that they were able to accommodate to their visitors. Then they wanted to support the local businesses. They wanted to lessen the business loss and stimulate visitations. Because of this flood, people had predicted that their revenue was going to go way down and that their taxes were going to be horrific and that everything was just going to be really changed because of this flood. So they had a three-phase project. The first phase was the flood. They wanted to secure positive tourism-focused messaging versus the disaster. They wanted to go to the media and they wanted to tell them, hey, yes, this is the bad stuff that is going on, but we want you to see what we are doing to recover and to report on this instead. So they conducted on-site media tours. They established relationships with national media and local media to show them around SD Parks and show them, hey, this is what we're doing to recover, this is what we want spoken out. Then they moved into immediate post-flood. And within the immediate post-flood, they did outreach to media and provide accurate information of the recovery. They contacted all the national and local media stations and just told them, hey, this is how we're recovering. And then they did all this to control the messaging. They also did this by talking to public officials and stakeholders, giving them talking points. And they constantly updated their talking points of the recovery that was going on in SD Parks. And then they gathered information on local businesses to see where they're at, where are they standing, are they able to be open, do they need help? And then they also monitored social media to see what people were saying on different platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then they developed a web page. One of the web pages focused on the recovery and what was going on. And then another web page focused on the flood. What were the conditions of the flood and the conditions of travel? Oh, I did want to point this out. That over here is the governor of Colorado meeting the mayor of Estes Parks and kind of doing a little press conference together, and the governor came down to see just how Estes Parks was doing. And then over here you have a community meeting that was led by the PR people, just to kind of see where the community is, where the local businesses are standing, and what they can do to help them. Then they moved into an ongoing post-flood. They started the trend #MountainStrong, and as you can see here, this really happy guy with the Mountain Strong t-shirt. They wanted to show that yes, this flood has happened, this flood has been tragic, but we are still mountain strong, and they are still able to recover. And so they started the Estes Parks resources page, where it talked about grants and funds that were being established to help reestablish Estes Parks. And then they did a show the love, not competition, but a showcase on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram of just encouraging people from the Estes Parks community to tweet their pictures, to share their pictures of the recovery, and just showing the love of Estes Parks on social media. And then they had recovery talks. They had appointments with local media and national media just to talk to them about recovery. And then they also hosted small events to where people could come and just visit Estes Parks. Didn't have to stay for a long time, but they just wanted people to come, go to the local shops that were open, and just build up the revenue. This lady right here, this is from the Visit Estes Parks website, and she is just showing that my inn is open for business. Even though that the flood did happen, she is still mountain strong. And so with the evaluation, with the media relations objectives, they had 70 print, online, and broadcast articles, and 200 million impressions of positive messages. One way that they can measure those positive messages is just the content of the articles, what the copy of the articles said about Estes Parks. Even though there was a lot of negativity from the media, even though that negativity wasn't about Estes Parks in general, it's about the flood and what the flood was having a negative impact on Estes Parks. Our goal, or Visit Estes Parks' goal, was to reverse that and say we're recovering from this flood. And then with their last objective, support business goals, they had predicted that tourism-related revenue would be a 30% loss, but because of their campaign, it was only a 23% loss. And then the park overall sales tax was only reduced by 5%, and retail was reduced to 9%. So in conclusion, I believe that Visit Estes Parks and Turner PR did produce a very effective PR campaign to reverse the negative implications that did happen to Estes Parks because of the flood. They established their goals, they established their objectives, and I believe that they accomplished them in a good manner. Thank you.